I can barely see myself because I'm always getting in the parking spot where I don't get enough sunlight. But I actually want, I saw somebody I knew. I actually want to get this started. The other day, I went on a date with this guy that I met on Tinder. And he seemed like a nice guy. I swiped right, not really thinking much of it. I get a message from this guy who asked me if I heard of this particular artist that is local in our city. So I tell him I never heard of him before. And he's like, oh yeah, he's a really cool guy and all of this. I should have seen that as a red flag. And let me tell you something, girls, especially black girls, black women, anytime a man, especially a black man, and it's usually a certain type of men that will ask you this. It's not just black men, but if it's like a white guy or like one of those nerdy types, like usually if they're like light skin or like biracial and those types, or if they are darker skin and they ask you something like, do you like this weird obscure thing that you never heard of? They are usually trying to figure out if you are different from the other girls, or if you like the things that they like, or they're trying to quiz you. They're trying to quiz you on how nerdy that you are. So I didn't really pick up on that, but I really should have, because we started talking and he asked me what bars that I like to go to. So I told him the bars that I like to go to. And eventually he asked me out. He said that we should meet up sometime at the bar that you like the best. So I tell him the bars that I like, and he decides he's going to pick the bar that is the cheapest. And I even said, like, this bar has like cheap drinks and stuff like that. And I noticed that he said, okay, we'll go to that. And he picked a bar I feel had the cheap drinks, but he ended up picking the bar that actually was a nice little restaurant, and it had food and it had some nice drinks there. And I wasn't really going into it expecting much. I was just going there to meet this guy. I'm thinking, seems nice, good looking. I don't really want to seem forward. I'm just going to be myself. I'm not going to dress up or look super hot or super sexy. I'm just going to look normal, looking like myself. So I meet up with him that Monday, because we were actually supposed to meet up on Thursday, but I actually was too tired from school and work. So I told him, hey, do you mind if we meet later that night at 8:30 instead of 7:30, because he wanted to meet really early and we only had about 2 hours to get to know each other. So he's like, well, actually, I have work around 10, so I'm afraid that we can't meet up at that time. So I apologized to him. And I noticed that when I did apologize to him, because I was too tired to really like go out that night, he didn't really say, oh, that's okay, I understand. He didn't really say any of that. And like I said, I didn't really pay too much mind to it, but it was just certain things that I noticed he did not do that was, that kind of leads up to what happened the other day. So Monday, we finally meet up. I get dressed up, I look pretty normal. So I get dropped off by my Lyft, and he's waiting outside for me. So I'm looking around, and he's like, oh, Kara, it's me. I said, okay, hi. As soon as he sees me, all of a sudden he's like, what's wrong? You seem a little bit off. Why are you acting like that? I don't particularly understand why people have this alarm signal where if you are awkward or, you're not really yourself, they want to automatically like, what's wrong? What's going on? Like, why are you acting like this? You seem a little bit off. Because I'm just meeting you for the first time. And I even said, I'm sorry, I'm just really, weird around strangers or meeting people, especially offline. It's not a big deal. Don't take it personally. I just have to get used to you. Just give me some time. And my reaction was, oh, he's really good looking and I don't have a problem with this man. But I also was a little bit weirded out, wondering like, what's he gonna think of me? How's he gonna think that I look and appear? I had all these things going on. I was just pretty nervous. And he just seemed like he had an issue with the fact that I was awkward and nervous. And time and time I told him, that's just my personality. I'm awkward. I even put it on my Tinder bio that I'm awkward. So I don't know why when you put things like awkward, people feel the need to try to criticize you for displaying the characteristics that you already said that you have, so they won't try to use that against you or try to act as if you're a terrible person or you're this and that because you're awkward, and how dare you not be comfortable around me, or how dare you not be comfortable in a situation like I expect you to, especially when I am autistic. So maybe he saw that I was a little bit weird or I had certain tics or quirks, and he just instantly was not even going to pretend like everything was okay. He was just automatically, he just started noticing certain things about me, like what's wrong and all this. And he didn't really say it like that, but he kind of said it like, okay, you can't say, hey, how are you doing? Nice to meet you. You look nice. It was just automatically like, oh, why are you so weird, basically. So we go in, I order my drink, he buys it for me, and it seems really cool. And I really enjoyed my time with him. And after we left, because for some reason he looked at his watch, or he looked at the time on his phone, and out of nowhere he's like, well, dear, I really have to go and I have work at 10. And it was like 9:20. And I'm not sure if he left early because it's like a 20-minute drive. I think he was just trying to get out early because it really wasn't a time where I expected him to leave right away. It was like only about 9:20. I was expecting him to leave at 9:30 or around 9:40. But at 9:20, it was just kind of weird. And I noticed that he didn't wait for my lift to come. He just asked me if he could just leave me here, if that's okay. I'm like, okay, like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to say, no, I want you to like stay with me because you're supposed to like wait for your date to get home safe, kind of like most people do that with me. They say, when you get home, text me and make sure that you're all right and just let me know. Like, that's kind of common etiquette when you leave your date, to text somebody and let them know that, hey, I got here okay, thanks for the time. But he didn't really do that. He just kind of left. And I noticed that, I went to shake his hand, and automatically he's like, okay, we're doing a handshake. I'm like, I don't understand like the big deal about the handshake. I didn't know that he wanted a hug. Like, if he wanted a hug, then he should have just reached out for a hug. He should have asked me if I wanted a hug. It was just kind of so weird that this man was doing all these things. And again, I didn't really pick up on it, but I get home and I text him and I say, hey, I had a great time, thank you. And I put a smiley face, just letting him know, like, even if it was awkward and even if I did seem a little bit off, I genuinely enjoyed my time and I would have liked to see him again, because I wasn't going to be rude. Just because I may act a certain way doesn't mean that's automatically what I am thinking. Everyone may look a certain way, but you don't know what we are thinking. We could genuinely be having a great time, but we have a different way of processing that. I have a resting bitch face. I'm not going to always look like I am feeling. So if I'm texting you and telling you, hey, I had a good time, I'm letting you know, like, I know I come off this way, but that's not how I was feeling. That's not how I am. So all of a sudden, he's not responding to my message. So I go and check and I see that he's already seen it and he didn't respond. So I'm thinking, okay, he's not really that interested. Fine. So a day later, he finally responds and says, oh, I had fun too, but to be honest, I didn't really feel a connection or a spark, and I want to know your thoughts. I was afraid he'd say that, just because I know how certain people are. And I notice people love using the spark or the fire thing when they want to try to make it like there's just no type of interest in someone. Oh, I didn't feel the fire, or I didn't feel a spark. Like, bitch, this is not a damn love song. This is not Nicholas Sparks. This is not the damn Notebook. This is not Titanic. Stop using these stupid ass tropes to try to express your damn feelings. Talk to me like a normal person instead of just, I didn't feel a spark. So I'm just confused. I'm like, why did you even tell me this? I would have rather you just ghost me and not say anything than for you to just be so blunt and rude the way that you were. So I text him asking him, what do you mean by thoughts? Do you mean like how I felt about the night? And he replies with, yeah, like YEAH, yeah. So I tell him, to be honest, I didn't even know it was a date. I just thought it was just a casual meetup. I didn't want to seem forward. I just thought that we were meeting. I didn't really know it was a date. That's what I told him, because how he was making it like it was supposed to be this really great date, and it didn't go how he planned. And I believe that he was really annoyed that I didn't take it as seriously as he thought I would. But again, I met him on Tinder. And he responds with, it was casual, but I didn't really feel a connection. So I'm like, okay, you're just not interested. You're not interested, and you're basically trying to like find any type of excuse to try to get rid of me. I understand. What I don't understand is why you are being a jackass about it, and why you felt the need to be so rude. Because you are the one that bombarded me with all these text messages asking me what I like and what I like to do, and asking to see me, okay? You messaged first. And you asked for my Instagram and Snapchat. You didn't even ask for my phone number. That was your big mistake. If you really wanted to get to know me, you should have exchanged numbers with me, and then we should have FaceTimed or called each other. Because again, when I went on dates with guys before, we've called each other. We've FaceTimed. We messaged each other on Facebook. No, let's exchange Instagram. So I feel like he didn't really have any intentions of really trying to date or like trying to get to know me. I think that this was a guy who wasn't really used to dating a lot of black girls, because all of his friends appear to be white and all of his exes appear to be white as well. And I feel like he probably never dated a black girl in his life. The 25 years of his life, I feel that he never dated a black girl, and he wanted to see what it was like. And I feel like I just did not live up to his expectation of this perfect black girl. I think that he was shallow. I think he was so focused on my looks and my Instagram photos that he didn't realize that this was, a flawed, weird ass, disabled, neurodivergent black woman, who's not always going to open up to people the way people would like. And it just really bothered him. And another thing that he said in our exchange was that I didn't get his sense of humor. And I'm just very confused, because we were sharing our interests. We were sharing our favorite TV shows, SpongeBob, Courage the Cowardly Dog. We were sharing our childhood favorites. We had a lot in common with that. So I didn't really understand what he meant about we didn't have similar sense of humor or sarcasm. And then I thought back to what he said about his father, and he had made a comment about how his father was midnight black, or he didn't say midnight black. He said 10:30 black, which essentially is like, dark, like he's as black as the night, like very dark skinned. That's how he was referring to his father. So I had responded with, oh, we don't really make these jokes, hey, like, and I was playful. I was not rude. At least I don't think I was particularly rude about it. I was just kind of like, hey, we don't really do that, like we don't really talk about skin color or make jokes like that, because I don't particularly find those jokes funny, and even if you may think they're harmless and your dad laughs at them and it's an inside joke, that just normalizes colorism. Growing up, my mom would make these jokes about my dad and about how, like, oh, he's a black licorice and a cricket and all of this. And I thought those jokes were funny, but I didn't realize how she was essentially normalizing colorism for me and making it like being black or being dark skinned was a bad thing, because whenever she would get mad, she would then refer to him as a black licorice. So I immediately associated black and dark as something bad. And even though I was never actually calling people black or dark as an insult, I just already knew that being black and being dark skinned was associated with something just unflattering. So when you say things like, oh, you 10 dirty black or you midnight and all of that, that's disparaging. And that's all I was saying. And I wasn't even being like flat out rude. I was just kind of being like, we don't do that. See, I'm being playful about it. I was just kind of being flirty, but I wasn't like, you know, fuck you, light skinned, light bright nigga and your colorism. Like, that's not me. Like, I don't understand why people think that I'm so aggressive the way that I am when I talk about colorism or light skin privilege, because how I interact with people in real life is a lot different than I interact with people on here or Twitter. I'm not just going to read you for filth. I'm not going to go out of my way to make you uncomfortable. I'm just going to let you know, hey, that's a little bit offensive to me. You know, some people are sensitive to things like that. Even if you meant it in a harmless way, other people may not take it that way. And I tried to be tactful and explain that to them. But it seemed like that probably bothered him, that I didn't laugh or I didn't like, like, why would I laugh at that? And you're lighter than me, so why would I, you know, a brown skinned black woman, like, laugh at a joke about a dark skinned black man when her father is also a dark skinned black man? She comes from a family of dark skinned black people. You know, I just feel like the whole thing was weird. And it's not that I'm hurt. I'm just really annoyed about the fact that this man really, I felt he was really looking for a reaction from me. That he wanted me to make a big deal out of it, or he wanted to see me act like the angry black woman. And when he did not get the reaction that he wanted, that was when he's like, okay, I don't want to deal with this. I'm going to unfollow this girl and blah, blah, blah. And I want to talk to her. I just, sorry, you know, best of luck with you. That's basically how he was. So I sent him this last message and said, you know what? I didn't have a problem with you. I didn't feel sparks either, but I was really willing to get to know you. And for you to say all of this just caught me off guard, because I told you before that, you know, I'm distant because I'm not going to open up to people right away. That's just how I am. So I believe he wanted me to open up, and he thought it was just going to be this wonderful, extravagant, you know, time. And it wasn't. It was just a normal fucking casual date. And for him to say it was casual, that doesn't make any sense, because then why is it a big deal for you to feel sparks on the first date when we just met? I can understand if it's the second date. You know, you're supposed to really, when you go on the first date with someone, it's not really supposed to be a big deal. It's supposed to be like informal, like, hey, this is me. Okay, this is you. This is what I look like. This is what you look like. Okay, it's awkward. And then on the second date, it's supposed to be, oh, okay, I really like this person. Okay, I can see this working. That's how it goes, you know. But I just feel like this man probably didn't like me the way he thought he did, or he wasn't as attracted to me as he thought just from the pictures, or he probably just realized that I just wasn't for him. But what I don't really appreciate is how he thought that just being blunt meant that I couldn't call him out for being rude or being insensitive about it, that he could have really just ghosted me, because I really didn't have time for him to try to make it like I was a problem because I didn't make his sparks fly. That he was trying to put it on me that, oh, I didn't feel the fire, and basically trying to say that I'm boring and that I didn't impress him enough. And that's how I got from him. That's the vibe that I got, that he felt like I didn't do all this and I should have. And I feel quite annoyed that he basically told me that I'm incompatible for him because I didn't laugh at his colorist joke, and that I wasn't as open and as social as he was. And my thing is, opposites attract, okay? You know, you probably just didn't like me. And I'm glad that essentially the trash took itself out, because he kind of just struck me as this really, I don't know, blurred type of man anyway. And another thing is that he was saying these stuff like, oh, we should do this, we should do that. Like, he was making all these damn promises, like, oh, I should take you to Texas and go to the Red River, or, oh, we should go do this, and, you know, I should, like, fuck that. I don't even want to go to these things anymore, because he was like, you know, at the best, you have something to do with your girlfriends now. You know what to do. Like when he said before, basically leaving me to wait for my lift, he's like, you know, at least you have somewhere to go now when you and your girlfriends want to do something. Bitch, I don't want to go to these stuff anymore, because it just reminds me of how kind of a douchebag that you were. And like I said, I'm not even upset because I didn't know this guy, but just how rude he was. I didn't just... the fact that he just had the nerve to tell me that he didn't feel anything, he didn't feel a connection, and there was no spark. Like, I'm supposed to fucking be responsible for your damn spark. But that's basically what I had to say. I think I ran it for too long.